The first image for this lesson is the telegram, and they wanted us to get rid of the yellow because it's been aged, and they want us to make it look like new. So get rid of the yellow, turn it back to white, how it would have looked initially, and then get rid of these folds within the paper. And there's many ways to do the same thing. And so I'm going to try to stick to the book as much as possible, but I did want to say that there's one way to get rid of the yellow is adjustments hue saturation and just taking down the saturation. And visually, it probably does not look that different than the way that the book suggests. However, if you take down the saturation even all the way, there's this, let's see, whoops, let me go back in time here. There is a slight chance that there is still color information, and maybe you can't see it visually, but your printer might pick it up. If I zoom in, some of these pixels may be slightly yellow or slightly with a little bit of magenta in them, and your ink toner might pick that up and throw some color in your document. So if you want it to be purely black and white, just meaning like your printer will only use the black toner, you can go image mode and switch it to grayscale. Okay. Discard the information, and now it is purely just black and white. And that was image, again, that was image mode. And these different modes we sort of discussed already. We discussed RGB mode, which is the colors of light, red, green, blue, and CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, black, the colors of toner. And so grayscale is another mode. And there's also a duotone, which is interesting. I've used that for printing. That's where it's like grayscale image, but with one color added to it. Or you can make it a tricolor, triatone. And there's a lot of different options, but generally when you are printing with process colors, you won't need to use duotones. That's kind of like if you have a specific color, you can, like your signature color, and you want them to use a very special ink, specified ink color, then you would use the duotone mode. Anyway, that's a tangent. So let me get back here. So now that I switched it to grayscale, we're going to go ahead and open up the curves panel. Where is curves? Right here. It looks like a little graphing chart. And if you click on it, it opens up the properties panel for curves. And then they wanted us to make sure to assign the adjustment layer to the layer below. So that little icon right there with the arrow down. And then now, because the image is black and white, it's fairly easy to adjust the tone by just moving these sliders around. So if I increase the white, then it starts getting rid of the middle gray areas, gets rid of the midtones, and if I increase the black, it does the same thing. So we're decreasing that middle tone, and it's becoming more and more just black and white. So curves is very much like levels. The purpose is the same. It's to adjust the tone in the image, the darks, the shadows, and the highlights. However, curves actually it's a lot more complicated than levels. It has this graph, and you can add points and change the midtones by just adding points and changing the curves. That's why it's called curves. And so it can be complicated. If you don't know what you're doing, you can ruin your image. So I don't think that I mean, to start out with as a beginner Photoshop student, it's kind of a bit much, but ultimately I think you're going to want to use curves instead of levels as you get more and more familiar with adjusting images. So just adjust the sliders so that there's very minimal amounts of white and black, or of gray. Minimal amounts of gray. So it's kind of just black and white. And then after this point, they just wanted you to go and double click on your original image, because right now it's locked. So in order to unlock it, you just have to name it. And so we can call it corrections, or we could have just left it at background layer 0 or whatever it was. But then as soon as you name it, the little lock goes away and you can start drawing on here. And they wanted us to erase these lines, okay?